Pressing this button, I can say that we are now live. Can everyone say a quick hello?
Hello.
Okay, you can definitely heard. I can be heard. So, welcome out there to the Revenge of the Werewolf. Yes, this is Revenge of the Werewolf. Roll credits. And we are back after that intro credit sequence. So hello there, everyone out there. My name is David Pustansky, and welcome to Revenge of the Werewolf. So just in a moment, we're going to meet our performers and our cast of characters. And for anyone who is not aware of this show, the way it works is one of our performers here is soon going to be designated as a werewolf. They are going to have to decide amongst themselves who is the werewolf, but you here at the audience, everyone out there in internet land, you will be able to help us to work out who is the monstrous werewolf, and we will then be able to track down, hunt down the wolf among us. So, if you're watching us on facebook.com/Extreme Improv, the thing I would ask you to do is click that share button so everyone else out there who is watching the show with you can find out who is the wolf and help us track down the beast. So, without further ado, let's meet our cast of characters. One of them is a wolf. First of all, introduce yourself to the people, Jacob.
Hello, I am Jacob Argent. If you want to join my team, I'm taking memberships as they come. I am the journalist in town.
Okay. Next up, I would like us to meet Polly. Polly, say hello to the people.
Hi there, I'm Polly, and I'm a labor organizer, and I don't like scabs.
Interesting stuff. Next up, we are going to come to... Who's designated number 3? I cannot find a number 3 among us. DB, you have not put a number.
I wasn't able to change it, yeah. I tried to. Yeah. How you doing? I'm DB. I am a writer. Good to see everybody. Thanks for being here.
Okay. Next up, we are going to meet Desdemona. Introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, I'm Desdemona, and I am psychic, ready to read cards, your fortune, and anything else that you need reading, really.
I knew you'd say that. Next up, we are going to meet Ricky. Ricky, introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, I'm Ricky Swamp. I work here in the graveyard.
Spooky stuff there, Ricky. Next up, we are going to meet our 6th person from the town, Sweet Abby.
Hi, I'm Sweet Abby. I'm Ricky's 12-year-old daughter. I don't really get supervised much, but I love all the townspeople.
Okay, and then I suppose we will then come over to old William. William, say hello to the people.
Good evening, I am William Sweeney. I am the undertaker of this village, and thus Mr. Swamp works for me.
Okay, and then last but certainly not least, we have Granny Nightshade.
Oh, hello, dearies. Hello. Yes, it's me, Granny Nightshade. I am just a lovable granny, and don't bother about the cats. It's totally fine.
Okay, lovely. So, audience, we have met all of our townspeople. One of these will soon be cursed, marked with the mark of the beast, the wolf. One of them will soon know who is the werewolf. Audience, I'm going to direct your eyes down to the notice board. Along the way, I invite you to give us your thoughts. Put your thoughts into the comment section all the way throughout the show, and we will read these out periodically to help us form an opinion of who is the werewolf. So, having a quick look to the comments here, people say, "Don't give up, Joe." Says, "Might give up. Thought it started at 8. Don't give up. We were just a tiny bit behind here." DB, you may need to get closer to your mic. You may be a little bit quiet. But other than this, people are saying they're excited to see the show. So now, audience, with a roll of this dice, I am going to find out which one of our performers is a werewolf. and I have found out which of our performers is a werewolf. And in a moment, I'm going to ask all of our performers to turn off their videos, stop their video, because day is about to turn to night. So, day is turning to night. Ricky Swamp has gone to bed. No, go to sleep, Ricky. Go to sleep. It is now the night phase. I'm about to inform a performer. I'm just dying. I'm literally dying here. I'm just going to have a quick sip of the old medicine. Forgive
More
me.
business for me.
Yes, I'm going to be the first victim here. So, I'm about to inform one of the performers, as decided by the dice, that they are the wolf. Now, if you have just found out that you are the wolf, do not let anyone know. Do not let anyone know. Now, I will also remind our performers, plus let our audience watching at home be aware that if you look to this side of the screen just next to me, you will see a row of 4 bottles. These 4 bottles are protection spells. There are 4 protection spells, and any of our performers during a night phase of the game can type into the comments, "Protect me." If they type into the comments, "Protect me," and the wolf attempts to kill them, they will be spared. So, I will now invite the werewolf to type in the name of one other person who they would like to have as their first victim. Please put the name into the comment section on Zoom, and we will find out who you have killed. Okay, so I can now say that night has turned back to day, and if we all wakey guys, we can all come back. And let's see, why have we got this on a spotlight view of someone? Let's turn off the spotlight view here. Spotlight video, and then gallery view. So, everyone, are you having a good morning?
Always.
Unfortunately, I have the very sad news to say that it is not a good morning for one of the residents of the village, as poor sweet Abby has been murdered. Some hideous beast, it looks like a wolf, has killed sweet Abby. But fortunately, using my psychic abilities, and I know that there is a strong psychic ability within the town, we can still hear you from beyond the grave. Sweet Abby, will you tell us how you feel to be dead right now?
I have been dead too soon. I mean, I went to Psychic Desdemona and I asked her, what will my future hold? And she said it'll hold brightness, so I don't know if I would trust Desdemona because clearly brightness did not include my future. And I feel very sad for, well, my father Ricky seems very happy about this, which is kind of disconcerting. And I was hoping I was going to become an undertaker like William because I've looked up to him all my life. I thought of you as my father too. So I feel very sad that everyone seems quite happy.
A very sad and sombre occasion, no doubt, and I'm sure William will take comfort in being able to be the one to lay you to rest as the Undertaker. But now we must get some justice for you, sweet Abby. We will go round to each of the performers. We will go to each of the townsfolk, where they will have the opportunity to ask one other person one question. Starting at person number 1, Jacob. Who would you like to ask a question to?
I would like to ask a question to Desdemona. But she already knew that I would want to ask her a question anyway, so she probably knows what I want to ask her, so please answer my question.
No. That's my answer. No.
Interesting. Interesting, short but sweet answer there. We thank you very much for your question there, Jacob. And now we are going to go to Polly. Who would you like to ask one question to?
I got a question for Ricky.
What is your question?
Go ahead.
Ricky,
Yes.
what was the last time you saw your daughter alive?
Good old Abby. I saw her 2 days ago. And an afternoon, not an evening. But dear old Abby has joined a lot of my dead friends now here. So that's why I don't have a hate. We all will be coming to this great graveyard.
Okay, very interesting response there. We will now come to DB. Who would you like to ask a question to?
I'd like to ask Mr. Sweeney a question. Mr. Sweeney, do you have an adversity to silver, or do you have any problems with having that around your house at all?
Adversity to what, my dear boy?
Silver. An adversity to silver.
It's not my favorite metal. It tends to, be quite difficult to angle into coffin shapes. Such like. And what was the second part of your question?
There was the second part, that was it. You got it.
Well, silver is a precious metal, as we all know, and the only silver I like are the silver coins that people pay for their burials.
Okay. Desdemona, who would you like to ask one question to?
Well, I'd like to ask Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney, you had a lovely relationship with Sweet Abby. Were you jealous that she wasn't your daughter? After all, she did look up to you more than her own father. Could jealousy be the reason why she's dead?
Well, emotions don't tend to run very far into my head, my dear Desdemona. You see, being an undertaker, one has to be in control of one's emotions, and as such, jealousy does not tend to run through. But yes, I did see Sweet Abby as one of my own lineage, as it were, and I did hope she would become a very good member of the funereal department.
Okay. Audience, I'll just direct your eyes once again to the notice board down below, where we encourage you to ask the villagers questions. Please put a specific question to a specific villager, and we will ask them. We've already had one. Hugh on YouTube says, does Granny own a Red Riding Hood?
Oh, I don't myself. No. But one of my granddaughters does, I think. Is it Susie? Is it Jemima? Oh, there's just so many of them.
Okay, interesting stuff. So next up, our next question will come from Ricky. Who would you like to ask a question to?
I'll ask a question to good old Granny.
Oh, Ricky, darling, how are you?
Doing great. Now, Granny, just being a little honest, you had your burial there. I mean, set up, which I love and I recommend. But you kind of disappointed me because I love you. But you're long overdue. We were waiting for you.
I don't like that assumption, Mr. Swamp. I have my papers all in order, and when it is my time to go, I will go. But, Mr. Swamp, remember, the cats get everything.
Okay. Next up, we are going to come from beyond the grave. Sweet Abby, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Who would you like to ask a question to, Abby?
I want to ask a question to Polly Pickett because she was quite upset at me for walking the line and being a scab when I was apprenticing with William Sweeney. Is that why you killed me? Is that why you're the werewolf? Admit it!
Hey, I would never take labor out of the force.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't absolve you from killing me!
Okay. Order, settle down now, please. We're getting some feistiness here. So, next we will come to William. Who would you like to ask a question to?
I would like to ask a question of Mr. Jacob Argent. Mr. Argent, you are a journalist, is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, Mr. Argent, that if I can ask a follow-up question to that pertinent question.
I'm afraid you get to ask one question. I'm so sorry, William. These are the rules of the house here. But we have a couple more questions which may field the same answer. Diana Brown on Facebook says, Polly Pickett, ever enjoy a cocktail with a werewolf? And if so, what drinks do they favour?
Well, I can't say that I've ever had a drink with a werewolf, but I wouldn't be opposed to.
Okay.
You know,
And Janie says, Ricky, why do you seem so happy, especially when poor Abby has been killed? Were you jealous of her?
I wasn't jealous of her. I love her with all my heart, and now she's actually closer to me because I'm always here at the graveyard, and so now is she. I love my daughter.
You're a terrible father. I'm glad I'm not your daughter anymore.
Okay, everyone, settle down now. Settle down. Granny, I believe you have a question.
I do. I have it for Mr. Frick. Mr. Frick, what is the latest? What is the name of your latest novel that you are writing?
Thank you for asking. It's actually called The Nine Werewolves.
Ooh.
Oddly enough, yeah, it's being hardcore on werewolves right now. Getting really deep into it.
Getting your teeth into it, yeah.
Okay, fascinating stuff. Now, townspeople, you will now have 2 minutes of open conversation. Begin.
Well, I'd like to ask my follow-up question to Mr. Argent. Mr. Argent, what lengths would you go to make sure you had a very juicy story for your readers?
Well, I've got to say, for such a small town, though, my articles just not really selling that much. I reckon something like this, though, I could make something of this.
Really? That's interesting, isn't it?
Like a national of this.
Mr. Frick, you seem to have a decapitated woman's head on the wall behind you. Is that anything you're worried about?
That is a stuffed head from one of my books. It's a cover from one of my books.
Oh, the Seven Werewolves.
And who did the stuffing?
Yes.
Mr. Frick,
Yes.
I want to know why you were following me around and asking me all sorts of odd questions about my life.
Because you remind me of a friend of mine, and I'm studying for my book. I'm trying to get real stories from real people. I'm trying to get real stuff.
Is it common for you to follow 12-year-olds around, Frick?
For my books.
Mr. Frick, you do wander around at night very, very often. I have seen you walk through the graveyard. Mr. Sweeney might be able to back me up with this one, but you do seem to have a fascination of nighttime graveyards and any sort of information you could put within your book. And one of your characters was actually a young child who went disappearing. So, begs to ask the question what you do at night.
I've been going to the graveyards to interview Ricky Swamp. We've been talking a lot. Been getting a lot of great stories out of Ricky about the town and all of you.
Ricky, what stories have you been telling, Mr. Frick?
Unfortunately, that is the end of the 2 minutes interaction here, but we will have one final interaction before we will put who we think is the wolf to a vote. And as according to the dice, we will have an interaction between Ricky and DB. Everyone else, please take out your camera view. You will have 1 minute for this interaction. Begin.
Ricky, how many bodies have come into the graveyard today?
Today, 3. 3. And my daughter was one of them. I loved her. She didn't care for me.
Right. You seem to be laughing about that, though. It must be a... Is that a physical thing? Is that a physical deformity, your laughter?
No, it is not. I enjoy my job. I enjoy life, and I enjoy death. And just in case, protect me, because it's not that time for me yet, Mr. Frick.
Do you have access to any weapons? Do you need weapons?
Well, it's a graveyard. I got many access to many weapons. Here's a nice shovel, and I could clobber you over the head. But no, I wouldn't do that while you're alive.
Does anybody else ever come down to the graveyard?
And that is the end of that interaction. I'm sorry, everyone come back. Everyone come back. Wow. Interesting. Ricky, you tried to call for a protection spell before we have reached this stage. And we will give you it. But unfortunately, you may not need it. So a protection spell has been used early. A protection spell has been used early. Will it be squandered? So for the rest of our cast here, I'll just let you know that should you vote for Ricky, he has already pleaded like a coward for protection over his life. But audience, let's go over to you. And we have lots of comments here. Sergif says, Hannah Army, you have a werewolfy look about you. So that's for Desdemona here. Pablo says, Desdemona, you're getting all the comments here. Can you name the 13 best werewolf movies of all time? Think on that. So it's not currently the questioning part, but you can think on that for now. Sophie says, it's another question. We're going to hold these questions now. We're going to hold these questions until the next round. Because, audience, it is now voting time. Please tell us, who do you think is the wolf? Save us. Put into the comment section who you think the wolf is, and your votes, audience, will be tallied up, and whoever you overwhelmingly think the wolf is will be counted as a vote, the same as all of the others. So now, I'm going to ask each of our performers to say one name. Jacob, who do you think is the wolf?
William.
So that is a vote against William. We will now come to Polly. Who do you think is the wolf?
Granny.
Who's that? Granny. Granny, you have... I thought you said Franny for a second. Maybe her name? We don't know.
Not this week.
Not this week. Next, we are going to come to DB. Who do you think is the wolf?
I think it's Jacob, because he's the only one with any facial hair.
Jacob with the facial hair. Good deduction there. Right, next up, we're going to come to Desdemona. Who do you think is the wolf?
Darling, I'm going to say DB. Why else would you walk around in a graveyard if not to be a wolf?
Okay, DB, you have got a vote against you there. Ricky, who do you vote as being the wolf?
I'd have to say, is dear Miss Polly.
Dear Miss Polly has got a vote against you. Sweet Abby, unfortunately you are dead, and the dead do not get to vote at this stage unless there is a tie-break situation. So we will come straight on to William. Who do you believe to be the wolf?
I believe in this instance, the wolf is Mr. Argent.
Mr. Argent. Okay, Jacob, that is a second vote against you there. Granny, who do you feel is the wolf?
Well, I don't take kindly to being accused, so I will just do like for like. I think Polly Pickett is the wolf.
Oh, interesting. At this last moment, we have had some votes. We're going to go over to the comment section and we'll see that we've got a vote here for Granny. Another vote for Granny. A vote for William. Pablo says clearly Granny. Then we've got a vote for Frick. Nikki Riches on Facebook says William. Diana says DB Frick, so that is 2 for Frick. Someone else says Trick, which I think means Frick. Someone else says DB Frick. So that is 1, 2, 3 for Frick. If we count where it says Trick, that is 4. That is 4 for DB Frick. And another vote here for Ricky, just coming through from Max. Then 1, 2, 3 for Granny. Granny, you were the favourite of the audience for a while. 1 vote says Hannah. But DB, I think you have had the most votes there from the audience. So, this puts us into a very difficult position here. Townspeople, let us have a look. You really have no idea what's going on here. Your eyes are not open, your ears are not to the ground. Only Desdemona and Ricky have not had a vote against them. Ricky, no one perhaps thinks you are guilty, or perhaps because you selfishly used up a protection spell so early on in this day, they decided it was a wasted venture to vote for you. In which case they decided to kill someone else for no reason if they did think it was you. But you had no votes against you. Everyone else had at least a vote against them. The audience put their vote against DB. Granny and William both had 1 vote each, but Jacob, Polly and DB each had 3 votes. So, at this stage, using my psychic abilities, may need to have them amplified from you as well, Desdemona here. Sweet Abby, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Your vote will decide who we hunt down as being the wolf.
I have one question, though. So the person can't use a protection spell?
No, they could use a protection spell. They could. It is just that Ricky has used one up needlessly.
My vote is for DB.
DB, you have been marked for death. I will now turn to our cast of characters here, and I will ask you, this grisly crime that is about to be carried out, perhaps on an innocent, perhaps on a snarling beast, who wants to execute DB? I need a volunteer, please. I will ask you for a volunteer.
I will volunteer, as it will be easier for me to bury the body.
William, you have volunteered to execute DB. If everyone else may stop their videos, there will now be a 30-second interaction. During the course of this 30 seconds, if you want to take a second protection spell from the townspeople, you can do. That is your prerogative. And let the 30-second execution scene begin.
Well, Mr. Frick, how would you like this to go? Would you like to be joining your decapitated friend on the wall there?
No, there's no reason to kill me. I really need to finish this book. It would probably answer a lot of questions.
I'm afraid the book has to come to an untimely and controversial.
That's too bad. It's being wasted.
Hail and knife over here.
I don't want... No, not knife. Poison me. Hang me.
No, I think I'd rather use a knife.
And that is the end of the 30 seconds. The execution is to happen. Oh dear. So, William, if I can ask you to take out your camera, please.
Of course.
DB, from beyond the grave, please communicate. Tell everyone. Were you the wolf?
No, I was not the wolf.
Everyone come back. Everyone come back. We have executed DB, and he was not...
Stupid.
He was not the wolf. DB, an innocent person, has been killed. Sweet Abby is dead, and now poor DB is also dead. I can now say that we have... DB, the selfless person that he is, didn't even choose to try to protect his own life during that 30-second opportunity there. Poor, stupid
I was
man.
going to be able to save my life.
Right, so we are... I see the full moon is out. It is now going to night. Will everyone switch off their video feeds one more time? Everyone switch off your video feeds. Audience, we'll see what you said. Diana's just said, poor DB. We did you wrong. We did do you wrong there, DB. But I will also say, would the wolf please communicate to me who you would like to kill, who you would like to take as your second victim. Whilst we're waiting for the wolf to put through the communication of who they would like to kill, I will remind our townspeople that there are 3 protection spells left. You could choose to write into the comments to me, protect me, and you will be protected but it would use up a spell if the wolf is not coming after you. So, looking at the comments, Hugh says RIP DB. Sergith says time to take out Ricky, potion stealer. We'll see what happens throughout here. Night is turning back to day. Night is turning back to day. Wakey, wakey, everyone. Wakey, wakey. It has been a bright morning that I can now see coming up amongst us. And, I noticed something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perhaps the curse is broken. During the night, there were no murders. There were no murders, but I can reveal that a protection spell was used. For a protection spell to have been used and therefore has been no murders, someone correctly protected themselves. Someone correctly protected themselves. And I will just say to this person, you do not need to reveal if you protected yourself. A single protection spell has been used, so the wolf will know who protected themselves, and so will the person know who protected themselves, but no one else will know. We still have this opportunity with no more blood on our hands to try and track down the wolf, so we will ask questions once more. Starting in the reverse order this time. Granny, who would you like to ask one question to?
Absolutely. Polly, my dear. I feel we got off on the wrong foot, but tell me, why did you accuse me yesterday of being a werewolf?
Nothing personal, Granny. I got my own techniques to sniff out who's murdering all of us.
Okay, now we are going to come to William. Who would you like to ask one question to?
There may to choose from. I'd like, in this instance, to ask Desdemona Rose a question. Desdemona, being someone who is affiliated with a lot of the spirits of this village, you'll obviously know a lot of the spirits emanate from the graveyard in which I run. Can you tell me if any of the recently departed have mentioned anything to you about habits of Ricky's?
Well, most of what I hear is surely, obviously, confidential. All words coming from the grave go to those that seek answers. It's just the way I work. However, what I would say is that Ricky has a lot being said about him. That's all I can say. A lot being said about him, which doesn't need to be completely confidential. But as I'm respectful, I will keep it to myself.
Interesting response. Looking over to the comments section and audience, I encourage you, ask the villagers questions. We'll ask some of the ones you asked in the end of the last round. But Diana says, Granny, you and your creepy bunny are starting to scare me. Audience continue to put thoughts and comments along the way. We will ask...
That's a statement, not a question.
It was a statement. They can give thoughts, but we will ask a question. Diana asks, Sweet Abby, now that you are on the other side, you must have knowledge of all the villagers. What secrets can you reveal?
Well, that rabbit is dead. That Granny has.
Oh my goodness, the rabbit that Granny has is dead. At this point, we will come to you, Sweet Abby, from beyond the grave. Do you have a question?
Yes. I want to know why Polly Pickett seemed genuinely surprised that no one had died last night.
You know, I'm used to losing, I guess is what I would say. So I'm a little surprised to have won, i.e. lived through the night.
Interesting response. Next up, we are going to come to Ricky. Who would you like to ask a question to?
I will ask to dear old Polly. Polly, I'm not giving you a cracker, sweetheart, but we kind of know you're the killer. So just straightforward, just admit it. Either kill somebody or let somebody kill you, because I need to bury somebody.
What, your kid and that author wasn't enough?
Not at all. No, she's here
Oh,
with
okay.
me.
Okay, Desdemona, who would you like to ask a question to?
I'd like to ask a question to Jacob, please. Jacob, you're rather quiet. I know you write all of this down, but you've got people you could ask many questions to. A psychic, for one. Your silence scares me beyond the grave, shall we say. Would you like to say anything, even something random?
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say I was very hurt that you turned me down for a date yesterday. So, there's that. And, yes, I like to be quiet so I can listen carefully to what other people are saying, you know?
Interesting.
My talk just adds to the noise.
Okay, from beyond the grave, DB, who would you like to ask a question to?
I'd like to ask another question to Ricky Swamp. Why did you sell me down the river?
Let's be real. I love when you've been alive. I actually love you more dead. But I love everybody, dead or alive.
Interesting response. Going over to the comments section, Diana says, I knew it, obviously about the dead bunny. Pablo says, Jacob, does your beard signify that you're in mid-transition to becoming a werewolf?
I said that.
Oh, I dropped my pen, so no,
You dropped your pants?
I'm hygienic, you know, I haven't in ages.
You shouldn't drop your pants.
It was a pen, sweet Abby. Don't worry, a pen, he said.
Yes.
I wish it was his pants.
Polly, who do you have a question for?
I'd actually like to ask a question of Mr. Agent. Mr. Agent. What was the last article you wrote?
The last article I wrote, oddly enough, it was about plagiarism that was against D.B. Frick by one Ms. S. Mayes.
Interesting. Which now must mean that we're going to have to come to you, Jacob, to ask a question of someone else.
I would like to ask a question to Grandmother Nightshift, aka Granny. Yes, my dear. I couldn't help but notice that awful smell. Not from you personally, of course. I should clarify, but from that rather endearing rabbit you have. Pray tell, where did you find that?
Oh, this little thing. Oh, yes. Well, one of my many cats brought him in. Oh, Maisie, Tortoiseshell, Fancy Alice. One of them, many of them brought them in. And, you know, I like that. They keep me company.
That does sound quite nice.
Okay, at this stage, I can now say that there will be 1 minute 40 seconds of open discussion. Begin.
Papa, I want to know what happened to my mother. Did you kill her?
Mama is still alive, crap, but she's not in this town no more. I miss you, sweetheart. Glad you're closer to
You haven't killed anyone, Ricky? Are you responsible for any death that you can admit to right now?
No, I'm just responsible for taking care of the dead.
Must say, Ricky, even though I do employ you, I admire your enthusiasm. You have been rather too enthusiastic around some of the open graves, if you catch my drift.
Sweet Abby, are you there, Sweet Abby?
I'm here, Desdemona. I wish you would have told me I was gonna die.
Darling, I didn't see it coming. You don't deserve it. I was ridiculously shocked.
Miss Rose, if you did not see it coming, can we possibly at all think of you as some kind of credible person in this field of yours?
In my field, darling.
See
But I
everything
am...
coming?
I'm still only human, my lovely. I'm not a witch or a warlock. I'm a human with special powers. They only go so far. Anyway, you spoke to your grandmother through me, so I'd have more respect, Mr. Sweeney.
Miss Rose, did you see that Mr. Swamp asked me and harassed me yesterday saying my time will come? I think he's pushing people into the plots. I think it's a threat.
We've had your plot there for quite some time, Miss Nightshade. We were expecting you
As
there.
the scouts say, always be prepared.
Mr. Argent.
Unfortunately, that is the end of this interaction, but there will be one more interaction before we come to the voting time. And going by the roll of the dice, this will be an interaction between Granny Nightshade and William. Everyone else, take out your camera views. Granny Nightshade and William, you will have 1 minute for this interaction. Begin.
As I was saying, your plot has been here for quite some time.
Well, I have no children, no nothing, so it's just good to have it all prepared. Like I said to your colleague, the cats will have everything. I just taking my time.
Well, I quite understand. Unfortunately, Ricky does have a tendency to want to fill those graves, and I am worried about how far he will go with that.
Yes, business was slow.
Are your cats well fed?
Oh, all 20 of them. I feed them the right amount. There's none that's overweight, I will say that.
They all get quite regular portions of certain meats, are they? They're not meat of dead bodies, I would assume.
Oh, no, Mr. Sweeney, I do not. Only the finest that the Waitrose down the road will acquire for me.
The Waitrose.
The Waitrose.
And that is the end of this interaction. Everyone come back. Audience, looking at your comments now, we do have a couple of questions which I am willing to ask at this stage. Pablo says, Ricky, do you shave your head to hide the fact that your werewolf hair grows in seconds?
That is a great, smart idea, but no, not really. I just like them when they're hairless.
Okay, and Sergis says, all of you should ask one question. Did you use the potion? Unfortunately, they do not have to reveal that. No one did ask that question at this stage. Sergith says, YouTube chat is not working. Thanks for the heads up there. We did just have a comment. I'd say try it again. Hugh Janus just used it as the way to reveal that Hugh did use it.
Somewhere in the back.
Yes. Hugh did just use it and said, I thought Granny said she had grandchildren, but she just said she had no kids.
Indeed.
Interesting.
It's called adoption.
Adoption. She's adopted some grandchildren. At this stage, I will now ask the audience, please vote. Who do you think is the wolf? Save us now. And we will ask our performers, our cast of villagers, please, let's go in, once again, reverse order this time. With Granny, who do you vote to kill?
I think it's obvious now. The person that's trying to push us all to the great beyond. My vote is for Mr. Swamp.
So, Ricky, you have got a vote against you. Now we are going to come to William. Who do you vote to, vigilante style, take out at this stage?
I believe I can run this graveyard on my own. I don't need any more enthusiastic people in my employ. Mr. Swamp, I'm choosing you.
Okay. We will now, unfortunately, go past poor sweet Abby, who is still dead and not with us, and still cannot vote. Ricky, who do you vote against, though?
I'm gonna have to change my vote into William, just because my daughter already cheated him like he's her dad, and now he's trying to just take over this great graveyard totally? No. I do a great job.
Interesting. Desdemona, who do you vote for here?
Well, darling, it's going to have to be Jacob. He made me feel rather insecure about the date that we were apparently meant to have, and I didn't remember that.
Yes. DB, from the other side. I'm sad to say you're still not able to vote. But we will now come to Polly. Polly Pickett, who do you vote to kill at this stage?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Mrs. Sweeney.
Mr. Sweeney, okay. And then lastly on this round, Jacob, who do you vote to kill at this stage?
My vote is going to Ms. Rose, not just for saying no when I asked her to foresee the question I was about to ask her about a date, but it's also I have a feeling she's not quite what she says she is.
Interesting. Turns down for a date, and then they have voted against each other. Interesting observations here. We will go to the comments section. We will see that we've got votes against Ricky, against Granny, against William. Anyone else in the audience? Anyone else want to vote? You have an indecisive vote. We're going to give it a few more seconds whilst we're waiting for any more votes to come in. Audience, I will remind you that this is Revenge of the Werewolf, and we're currently streaming on facebook.com/Extreme Improv. If you haven't clicked like on the page, do so now, please. But if you click the share button, which will be just underneath the video here, then people will be able to watch and vote and put comments along with you. We're also on youtube.com/Extreme Improv or twitch.tv/Extreme Improv. If you go onto either of those and click the subscribe buttons, that would be brilliant. Even if you're watching on Facebook, if you could do that, it will help us grow the channel. Having a look here, more votes have come through. Diana votes against Ms. Rose, and Elkie says, everyone is so creepy. You're all the wolf, lol. Diana then says, hi Elkie. Well, that isn't deciding it. The audience have not helped. Oh, but Sergith now comes in and says swamp. So, having a look at things that... Oh, Sergith, you said Ricky before, so we have not got a decision from the audience. So, having a look, it is going to be now down to the dead to vote. We have a tie. Interestingly, the townspeople still don't have a decision amongst them. There is one vote against Jacob. Nobody this time suspected Polly as being the wolf. And Desdemona had one vote against her. Ricky had 2. William had 2. And no one this time suspected Granny. So it is between Ricky and William. I will first come to Sweet Abby. Who do you vote against this time?
It's my terrible father. He's the werewolf, and he's going to use a protection spell again, I know it, because he's selfish.
Interesting. DB, who would you vote against between William and Ricky?
I gotta go with William because they're father and son, so that would mean if Ricky was a werewolf, his father would also have to be. And I've studied a lot about werewolves, so that doesn't matter anymore because I can't finish a book, thank you.
Okay, so thank you from Beyond the Grave. We have now made a decision as a community, as a town. William, you have been marked for death. At this stage, I will ask one of the living participants.
Can I just ask something there?
No, you may not.
I believe that Sweet Abby voted for Ricky.
Wait, oh, did you? I misheard that. I misheard that. Oh, in which case, we are at a stalemate. We are at a stalemate. Okay, so we are at a stalemate between William and Ricky. I am now going to come back to the living participants and ask them to re-vote just between William and Ricky. Jacob, who do you vote against?
Given the 2 options, I think I'll go for Ricky.
So that's a vote against Ricky. And can I ask Polly, who do you vote against?
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Mr. Sweeney.
Okay, so that still doesn't clarify things anymore. DB, you cannot vote. Desdemona, who do you vote against?
Well, as much as I love Sweet Abby, I truly believe she didn't deserve it. I'm going to say her father did it. Ricky.
Okay. And then I will come lastly to Granny. Who do you vote against?
What's that? Yes, we shall go with our original intent. Bye-bye, Mr. Swamp.
So, with that, Mr. Swamp, Ricky, you have been marked for death. I almost misheard and would have put Mr. Sweeney for death. How close were you to an unfortunate demise there? Who would like to do the honours of taking out Mr. Ricky Swamp? I need an executioner, please. From among the living. Do I see Jacob's hand raised? Jacob, you have made a brave choice to commit this heinous act. If everyone else takes out their video view, there will be a 30-second interaction. Ricky, last time you did use a protection spell when it wasn't even required. DB, if you could take out your camera view. During this 30 seconds, you could choose to use another protection spell if you want to use to save your life. And now it is over to you. Let the execution begin.
Right, Ricky. Before I permanently give you the death statement, I just want to ask, how do you want me to write your obituary?
You know, I want you. You might be buried before me, because I do believe I'm going to be protected, because I'm going to protect me. Because I need to bury more people, more individuals, counting yourself. So protect me.
Okay, and at that stage, everyone come back. It is a full moon. Ricky Swamp has chosen to protect himself for the second day in a row. But we are now going to go to the night phase. So everyone, take out your video view once more. Take out your video view. Looking over at the comments. And Elkie says, I'm late to the party. Who's still alive and who is dead? So far, the wolf has claimed the lives of, well, only Sweet Abby. The townspeople decided to kill DB in the last round, and Ricky has protected himself 2 days in a row. One other person has used a protection spell, and there is one protection spell left. One protection spell left. I will ask the wolf at this stage, please put into the Zoom comment section just to me the name of who you would like to kill next. Okay, so having a look at this, I can see, well, we do have a name in the comments section here, and there's a very interesting situation. A very interesting situation has occurred. So, everyone, come back, because night has turned back to day. Night has turned back to day, and unfortunately, there are no protection spells left. There are no protection spells left. I can say that more than one of you tried to protect your own lives, but only one of you was successful in using the protection spell. But let's find out if they were successful in protecting themselves from the wolf. They didn't need to use a protection spell on this night, because unfortunately, Polly was murdered. Polly did not protect herself during the night, perhaps because someone else selfishly used up the protection spells when they weren't required, and now Polly is dead. From beyond the grave, Polly, tell us, how do you feel?
I have to say, using up those protection spells is a waste of resources.
Absolutely. So,
but you know, whatever I can do to help the village.
Okay. There are so few of us still alive. Having a look to the comments, DB has written, I died to Elkie. Yes, it's true, you did. Sergif said, kill that swamp. He says, take that, you potion stealer. Okay. We will now go back in order. Starting with Jacob. Who would you like to ask a question to?
I you have to ask a living person, right?
You can ask anyone any question you like.
Cool. In that case, I would like to ask a question, please, to Mr. Sweeney. Good day, Mr. Sweeney. Right, so I'm just going to put this officially on record. How do you feel about the sudden increase in homicide in this town? What's your take on this?
Well, obviously it's a boon for my business operations, but unfortunately that doesn't mean I can't be griefful of the sudden loss of life. It is despite myself being an undertaker and in the business of death, life is a precious thing, and we should always value our lives, and if someone is going around and taking those lives, then they should pay the piper.
Okay, interesting stuff. Next up, let us come to Polly from Beyond the Grave. Who would you like to ask a question to?
Let's see. Granny.
Yes.
Granny. Sweet Granny. You ready to join me soon?
That sounds like a veiled threat. I don't like that.
Tail spin over here.
From Beyond the Grave, so many dead people, but DB, who would you like to ask a question to?
I'd like to ask a question to Jacob.
To Jacob.
What were you doing last night?
What were you doing last night, Jacob?
What was I doing last night?
Mr. Fricks had some drinks.
Yes. The shadows are fading. The shadows are fading. Desdemona, I may need your help on the psychic connection here.
It's the holy vodka who's been on too much.
Yes. Jacob, stop avoiding the question. What were you doing last night?
I was too busy sulking that I could not execute Ricky's swap.
Oh. He says that, but he didn't step forth. So, next up, we are going to come to Desdemona. Who would you like to ask a question of?
Well, my question is for Ricky. Ricky, you were very close to death, yet you don't seem to be fazed by it. If that was me, I'd be terrified. You also were quite happy just to be led in. Is that because you have the strength to overpower Jacob if you fell backed into a corner?
No, it's simple and to the point. As I've said many a times, I love the dead and I love the non-dead. So, I still think I should live so I can bury people like yourself, but it's all great. It's all great.
Okay, interesting. Looking at the comment section, Hugh says, oh my, what big teeth you have, Granny. How would you like to respond to that?
Why, all the better to smile at you, my dear.
Interesting stuff. Next up, we are going to come to Ricky. Who would you like to ask a question to?
I will ask it back to Mr. Presents the head of the guy. I forgot his name. And Sweeney. I'm sorry.
You have a question for me, do you?
Yes.
It's not against the rules. You can ask a question to anyone. You could even ask a question to the audience.
I'll ask it to Mr. Sweeney.
Okay.
Sweeney, and I do use Mr. pretty lightly, but you talk to my daughter a lot, which was great, and you kind of always get very critical on me. I do such a great job, but you get mad that I enjoy it too much. Why are you trying to kill me? Let's be real.
Well, we can be real as much as you want to, Mrs. Swamp. The fact is, Ricky, or Richard, should I call you, as you are my employee, I like to use colloquialisms. Mrs. Swamp, the fact is, your daughter always came to me because she never felt she had a father figure in her life. She never felt that you were much of a father. In fact, where were you often when you were trying to meant to be taking her to school, to practice, to her dance classes, to her singing lessons? Oh no, you were too busy wanting people to be buried in the plot. That's my answer.
Okay, so next up, we're going to come from beyond the grave. Sweet Abby, who would you like to ask a question to?
I would like to ask a question to Mr. Argent. I wonder what's underneath that hat of yours. Are you perhaps hiding some werewolf hair?
You mean under here? The only thing I'm hiding under here is a past knowledge.
Interesting reply. Smart reply, you might say. Next up, Mr. Sweeney. Who would you like to ask a question to?
Well, I was going to ask Mr. Frick a question, but he seems to be paralysed with fear, so I'll ask Desdemona Rose a question instead. Desdemona, I know we were talking a little bit about spirits earlier and what they were often asked you, but I would like to ask you, what is the most pertinent question you've had to ask a spirit recently?
The most... What question was that, sorry?
Most personal, maybe most interesting, mysterious, perhaps, question.
If I'm being completely honest, I've been checking on how Abby is. I liked the girl. She was sweet, she was innocent, and I know she liked you. And, you know, when a child finds someone who she can look up to, have that taken away from her so suddenly is disgusting. So, for you, Mr. Sweeney, Abby is as happy as she can be. Take that.
Okay. And then lastly, Granny, who would you like to ask a question to?
I just wish to clarify, dearie. Did you say I could ask you a question?
That is a question.
Oh, that's so stupid of me. Silly old granny brain.
Yes, you can ask me a question. Keep that in mind.
I will. Oops.
At this point, I will look over to the comment section and we have the question. William, why are you so morbid?
It comes as part of the job. Whenever you are hiring undertakers, part of the curriculum vitae should really be highly skilled at morbidness.
Gosh, I've just become aware. Two things. The dark forces have seemingly taken. There is one less ghost in this town right now. DB. Try to find your way back. Try to find your way back. I have also just recalled that there has not been a curse as of yet. And you have been very lucky up until this point. And it will be coming soon. I can feel the darkness is growing stronger. But there will now be 2 minutes of open conversation. Begin.
Desdemona, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Can you do me a favour? Is Adele there?
Say that again, my love.
Is Adele there with you? Adele.
Adele.
Adele, yes.
Currently, I'm still channeling Abby. Polly keeps popping through, but Abby's all I'm hearing at the moment.
I see. Well, if you see Adele, say hello to them from the other side for me, please.
I will do that for you.
Desdemona, here, Desdemona, yeah. You're talking to my great daughter, and I loved her with all my heart. And you said she's finally happy. Does that mean because she's closer to me in the graveyard?
Please tell him, I'm happy because I'm free of him. I'm free of him being my father, my terrible father, neglectful.
She says that she's happy to be free and away from you. And actually, in fact, she's actually closer to Mr. Sweeney, isn't she?
Yes, I love Mr. Sweeney very much.
And she loves you, Mr. Sweeney, very much.
If I was capable of love, I would have said the same thing back, but as
I'm sure you would, Mr.
Not
Sweeney.
my reputation.
Okay.
Granny, I want to know why you wanted to adopt me and you got very angry when I said no.
Oh, sweet Abby. You would have been a perfect addition to the rest of the little cats. You would have been perfect.
Granny, put your false teeth in, my love.
Unfortunately, that is the end of the interaction, but we will have one more interaction before we get back. Now, I can feel that perhaps DB is trying to resurrect himself. We may get some sort of spirit form of him come through soon. Elkie says DB has been banished. We are trying to bring him back. We're working hard against the evil spirits. But I can see that there is going to be one final 1 minute interaction within this day. And this will be between Jacob, and it will be between Sweet Abby from Beyond the Grave, if you can hear us. Talk to Jacob. Jacob, Sweet Abby wishes to talk with you. DB and Polly, please take out your camera views.
Grabbing the Ouija board.
Mr. Argent, you seem to be making a lot of notes about people and collecting their hair. What is that about?
What an unusual question to come through the Ouija board, but I'm collating hair so I can try and send it to a forensics lab to run some tests. Perhaps maybe this would help us find out who the werewolf really is.
And you seem to enjoy writing down their blood type as well.
Yes, that is also for forensic evidence, so I'm trying not to get my cover blown. That's why I was disguising myself earlier.
And there is a map of the human body, many different shapes, in your home.
Oh, that was from my wife. She's the forensic scientist, so it would make sense for her to have that. I do have one final question for you, Abby, if I can just reach out to you. You're not going to tell...
Unfortunately, we will not find out what you were finding out from her there. Everyone come back. Audience, it is now time to vote. Vote now and save us from the wolf. Who do you think is the werewolf? Audience, put the name of the living person you think is the wolf into the comments section. Look at their faces. We still have Jacob, who is still alive. Ricky is still alive. Desdemona is still alive. Granny Nightshade is still alive. And William Sweeney is still alive. One of them is a werewolf. There are no protection spells left. Please vote now and save us. We will now ask Jacob, who do you believe to be the wolf?
Now, this is a bit of a tough one, but I think I'm going to have to vote for Granny.
Granny, you have a vote against you. We will now ask poor Polly. We cannot ask you. I enjoyed asking you in the past, but you are dead. You cannot vote at this stage. DB, next to her, we have managed to bring you somewhat. Your spirit form has returned to us, but you are still dead. So, Desdemona, who do you vote against here?
Well, I, for Abby, still vote against Ricky.
Ricky, you have a vote against you. We will now come to Ricky. Who do you believe is the werewolf?
I'll have to say, if I was the werewolf, I would call Sweeney, so it is good old Sweeney, because he knows he'd have been a dead man.
Okay, so Sweeney, you have a vote against you. And then we will come to poor sweet Abby from Beyond the Grave. You cannot vote at this stage, so we will come to Mr. William Sweeney. Who do you believe to be the wolf?
My mind has not been swayed, and I'm afraid it is Mr. Swamp that I will still bring my vote towards.
That is a vote there. And then lastly, Granny Nightshade. Who do you believe to be the werewolf?
Again, we know he has used 2 of the Protect Me ones quite openly, so indeed. Bye-bye, Mrs. Swamp. We won't be seeing you again.
Okay. So, let's go over to the comments section. We can see that Sophie has said Ricky. Max has said Ricky. Jane says Granny is the werewolf. Biddy Wink Wink says Granny. Janie says Granny. Granny, that is 1, 2, 3 votes. And let's have a look here. Sergith says Swamp. That is 3 against Ricky as well there. Let's have a look. We have another vote from Hugh against Granny. And he asks the question, are Ginger Snaps Jacob's favourite biscuits? We're not quite sure. But at this stage, with 1, 2 versus 1, 2, 3, making it 3 all, then 4. Ricky's got a mean face like a werewolf would. says Elkie. Oh my gosh, so does that tie things up? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is all tied up from the audience. A split vote between Granny and Ricky. But looking at the votes, it is irrelevant. It was just giving us insight into what the audience are thinking at this stage. Because Ricky, you had 3 votes against you. Granny, you only had 1. So even if this vote went against you now, it would not make a difference. Ricky, you have used 2 protection spells on previous days. 1 completely unnecessary at the time you used it. How much may you be regretting that now? Because you have been marked for death. Would a volunteer executioner please step forward? Who would like to kill Ricky Swamp? There are no third chances. Jacob, your hand is raised. Will everyone else take out their camera view? And there will now be a 30-second execution scene. And here you go.
So, Ricky, Richard, we're here again. You know,
Obviously, it's my last call.
do you want to include anything in the obituary? Any last words?
No, just I'm gonna get to join my great daughter even closer now. She's a lucky young lady, dead lady, and I'm gonna be a young old man.
That's fine. I'm sure Desmond will agree with that. Yeah, I'm just gonna
Get to tell you, I'm coming. Daddy's coming.
Yuckies!
time to get out of the swamp. That's a cushion I'm holding just for fun.
And with that, Ricky Swamp is dead. Can everyone come back, please? Can everyone come back? So, from beyond the grave, Ricky, can you come back? Can you still hear us, Ricky? From beyond the grave, come back to us.
Yes.
Ricky, can you reveal, are you the wolf?
I would never be the wolf. I would not kill my daughter, you foolish.
Oh my goodness. Townspeople, we have once again executed an innocent person. Ricky Swamp
You guys are the worst.
is now dead. He had to protect himself against you savage brutes 2 days in a row, but his time ran out before, with your prejudice against him and his strange way of life, you decided to kill him mercilessly. And I can now look at the sky and I can see that day is once again turning to night. Will all of our performers go lock yourselves, board yourselves up into your house? It is now night time. It is the night phase, and performers, will the werewolf please put the name of who you would like to take as your next victim? There are no protection spells left. I can reveal that during the last night phase, 2 people asked to protect themselves. One of them was successful. The other wouldn't have been successful even if they had asked for protection. Sergith says, bye-bye, Potion Stealer. So, let's have a look. Okay. I can now say that... Wait. Do I hear some noise in the night? What is this? And it is daytime. Can everyone, wakey, please come back. Please come back up. Oh, it is now daytime. But with no protection spells left among us, unfortunately, there has been a murder. Audience, continue to give us your thoughts. Help us form this opinion of who you feel is the werewolf. But, unfortunately... Perhaps not unfortunately, perhaps it was deserved. After killing an innocent Ricky last night, Jacob, you have been taken out. Jacob, you are dead. From beyond the grave, Jacob, you murderer, you. How do you feel?
I feel empty and dead inside.
Okay. Well, at this stage, we will now have the opportunity where everyone will get to ask one other person one question. To begin with, I just heard a weird noise, which is a similar noise which...
A similar noise. It's a noise of a certain other death we've heard before.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Did other people hear that noise?
Yes.
Oh my god. Right, well, if this stream goes dead, guys, avenge me. I'm
Well,
just...
with the stream, damn it.
If the stream goes dead, Mr. William Sweeney, I am just making you a co-host. Jacob, I am also making you a co-host. I will make as many co-hosts as I can. Yes, but that way, if things go wrong, hopefully it will still record and we'll get the ending. But Granny Nightshade, would you please ask a question to one other person?
I won't be caught out this time. To you, Mr. David, who
Yes.
was the other person on night 3 that used a potion that wasn't me?
Well, you have asked me the question. The other person that wasn't you, that used a potion on night 3. I don't mind revealing, I don't have to, but I don't mind revealing that William attempted to protect himself, but it would not have been successful even if the wolf had picked him, because Granny Nightshade, as you know, you got in very quick with that call for protection, which you also did not require on that evening.
No.
So, we will now come to William. Who would you like to ask a question to?
I feel after that revelation... we need to
Wait,
ask-
sorry, I'm so sorry. I can feel dark magic that has been put to us from... Dark magic is affecting us. Thank you, Hugh, for reminding us. There is a curse. And I can see from a roll of a dice. I can see from the roll of the dice that the corpse of Ricky has been afflicted with a curse. Ricky, throughout the rest of this day, you will only be able to speak in single-syllable words. If you say anything that isn't a single-syllable word, then you will be cursed with silence. I do apologise, William. Who did you wish to ask your question to?
I was going to ask a question of Granny Nightshade.
Yes, Mr. Sweeney.
Now, Granny, earlier on I recall some individual called you Grandmother Nightshade. Is there anyone here that you are actually, in fact, maybe not even alive, maybe one of the most recently departed, that you are actually related to around here? You said there's no children, but yet someone did refer to you as Grandmother, which makes me think that they may have you under a more formal reference.
Well, Mr. Sweeney, you have found me out. Grandmother was my previous name. I had an operative's name, you see. I was sent to, put on a sort of form, a sort of play for people, and got information with this sort of sweet, lovely facade. And that is exactly what I have done. I have got exactly the information I need to know who the werewolf is now.
Interesting stuff. Looking over at the comments, I thank Hugh for reminding me about the curses. But Diana says, Granny, I still don't trust you. Next, we are going to come to Sweet Abby from Beyond the Grave. Who do you ask a question to?
I would like to ask a question to Desdemona. Desdemona, you've had no need to use any protection spells. Is that because you're the werewolf?
My darling, you know me. I know nothing about dogs, werewolves, foxes. I'm not an animal person.
You don't need to be if you're the werewolf. You just are.
A werewolf is an animal, my lovely.
But you don't need to know anything about them either.
Okay, please.
Times, I would be itching all over.
If the dead could be respectful of being dead, and others be respectful to the dead. Next up, we are going to ask Ricky, with your curse on you, who would you like to ask a question to?
6. Why run from Dad?
Because Dad is scary. Is that being respectful, David?
It is. And I will let you ask me that question there. So, next we are going to come to Desdemona. Who do you want to ask a question of?
I'd like to ask a question of Grandma, Granny, Nightshade, whatever your name is. You've just said quite clearly that you've had a different facade, that you've taken on different characters. Striking to me that you would say that quite openly when you know there is a werewolf going around killing people. Is this another character to cover who you actually are?
Very
good question, I may ask myself.
Yes.
Very odd. If anyone hears something that sounds strangely like a fan in the background, it may be trying to cool down a computer that is making strange other noises. But next up,
I have not answered poor Desdemona's question.
Oh, answer the question by all means.
I will. Desdemona, yes, I agree. A facade just to, get people off the bins. Well, but Desdemona, you should already know that, as you did try to kill me on night 2, did you not?
What? I don't kill people. I talk to people from the grave. I don't have to kill them to do that. That's part of my job. Why would I kill someone to talk to them?
Interesting. Next up, DB, rejoining us from beyond the grave. Please, who would you like to ask a question to?
I would like to ask a question of Granny Nightshade.
Oh, they're all queuing up.
It's a sort of off the subject, but are your hands doing a production of Pippin?
I was known as fastest fingers first. I actually got quite quick to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the Forest Edition.
But a werewolf would have thick fingers too.
Okay, interesting thought. It's amazing. Poor DB, so much clearer in death than he was in life. But next we will come to Polly from Beyond the Grave. Who would you like to ask a question to?
Let's see. I'd actually like to ask Mrs. Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney, who buries the grave diggers?
Who buried the grave diggers? Are you talking about the popular rap hip hop beat combo?
I'm talking about Mr. Swamp.
And Mrs. Swamp. Well, of course, being the chief undertaker around here, of course, the duties now fall to me. And unfortunately, we've not managed to bury Mrs. Swamp just now, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it, whatever happens. Hopefully no vibrations will be happening underneath the burrowing.
Okay. Looking over to the comments section, I can see that Hugh says, does William prefer the company of dead folk?
Well, I tend to find that they don't argue as much.
Interesting response. So, lastly, from Beyond the Grave, Jacob, R.I.P. Who would you like to ask a question to?
I would like to ask a question, please, to Granny Nightshade.
They're all queuing up now.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Even in death, I have a journalism career with the news of the world. So, I have a question for you. Recently went public that you used one of the last 2 protection spells. Was that an interesting tactic to make sure that no one innocent could try and protect themselves, and that you, the werewolf, would trap them in this predicament?
That is a very good question, Mr. Jacobs. Unfortunately, as an old lady, I'm not very intelligent. You saw how I asked the host a question earlier. But I can actually reveal that I actually used 2 potions, not 1.
Oh, did she use 2 potions? Is that the truth? Is this a lie? Someone has been lying to us this whole evening. Now, though, there will be 1 minute and 20 seconds of open conversation.
Well, it seems someone was very potion happy, weren't they?
Well, I did seem there was a target on my back after the first day, so I thought, just on a whim, and it turns out I was correct.
You are a group of wasters and murderers, so yeah, makes sense.
Not murderers, I just clean up after them.
You all did kill you. You're all responsible for my death. I blame all of you.
Well, someone
Oh, make me kill Ricky as well. You know, what's that about? That's messed up. You let me do it twice as well.
Yeah.
Well, we
I'm
couldn't
gonna be
stop you.
bumping
You
all
were so
of you.
enthusiastic to do it.
I didn't see anyone else.
Desdemona, you're being very quiet down there. Have you nothing to say to anyone at all?
He's probably predicting the future.
That's
Yes,
it.
what do you,
I was
what do you
wondering,
predict?
Desdemona, did you realize that any of us would be dead by now?
Yeah.
You didn't
If I
say
did, I would have warned you. I would have warned you.
Almost like another force took over her mind and she didn't have any control.
Exactly, Mr. Sweet.
8. Kiss my grave.
Yeah, and if you're a mind reader, what number am I thinking of right now?
Not that kind of mind reader, lovely. Can't give you the Euro millions.
And that is the end of this interaction. This is the end of the open conversation, but we will have one final interaction before it is voting time. And having a look at things, I can see that from beyond the grave, Polly, you will be having an interaction with Desdemona. Desdemona and Polly, for some reason, Desdemona, you with your psychic ability, Polly wishes to speak with you. You have 1 minute.
How's it going, Desi?
Hello, Polly.
You know, I miss our talks.
Me too.
I'm gonna be around a lot more though now.
It's wonderful. Well, it's not wonderful, but it's wonderful, you know.
Yeah.
I prefer you to be here in person, though. You always had a really lovely way about you.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's unfortunate that you ripped my throat out and all, but
It's unfortunate that I did what?
ripped my throat out with your wolf teeth.
Ripped your throat out with my wolf teeth. My lovely, really, look. See? I've got big teeth, but I was born with big teeth. Look at the state of them. I look like if John Bishop had a daughter and married a horse. Honest to God.
That's what we always used to say about you, but you know, I don't believe it.
And unfortunately, it's getting cloudy there. That is the end of the interaction. At this point, audience, please vote now and save us. Who do you think is the werewolf? Please have a look at each of the townspeople, some of which do not seem to have made it back to the screen. But unfortunately, Polly is dead. Desdemona is still with us. Look at that face. Could she be a werewolf? William Sweeney is still with us. Does he have hunger for blood in his heart? Granny Nightshade is still here, doing the Mr. Burns thing with her fingers. What does that tell us about her person? Jacob, so freshly dead, so easily forgotten. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us. Sweet Abby, the first of our victims here this terrible week, is no longer with us. DB is no longer with us. And Ricky, that guy that tried to protect himself and everyone turned on twice, is no longer with us. Please put into the comments, who do you wish to kill? So, we will start the voting with Desdemona. Who do you suspect of being the wolf?
Well, I suspect it's Granny. I mean, just look at her. She's friggin' freaky. And also, a disguise. Really, a disguise. She's so open, it's like it's a ploy. It's like it's a ploy for us
Interesting.
not to think it is.
So you're saying, Granny, what big teeth you have?
Granny, what big teeth you have, yes.
Yes, interesting. We will not be able to come to Jacob because you are dead. But Granny, who would you like to vote for?
I think I've made my place very clear, almost like a marple thing. I believe it is Desdemona, so my vote would be for her.
Desdemona, you have a vote against you. William, you are still alive. Who do you vote against?
Well, this is interesting, isn't it? Because technically I'm safe from those now, but of these two at least. So I think, as the only other alive person here, both these women have very interesting cases. We have Desdemona, who doesn't seem to remember when, doesn't have predicted anyone's passing, and Granny, who seems to be changing her identification at all times. So I am going to choose Granny Nightshade.
Granny Nightshade, you have a vote against you. Now, William, you may have forgotten that the audience still have a say in this. And we can see that Max on Facebook has voted against William. Jane has said William. Sophie J says William. Elkie says Desdemona and her Camilla like teeth. Nikki Riches on Facebook says William. Sandra O'George says Granny. Biddy Wink Wink says Desdemona. Sienna says Desdemona. And Janie says Desdemona. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 for William. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Desdemona. Hugh says Granny Deadly Nightshade is the werewolf. Sergith says kill William, which puts, I think, William 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Desdemona 1, 2, 3, 4. That is, in fact, a vote against you there, William. However, that is the only vote against you, I believe. The only vote, which means Granny. It did not save you. You have been marked for death. Who, between William and Desdemona, would like to kill Granny Nightshade?
I can't kill. I just can't. I won't go down that
I'm
track.
happy to hand it to you, Desdemona, seeing as she did vote for you.
Well,
Yeah, okay.
yes, I think that is a fair call there. William, you did not vote to kill. Wait, or did you? I can't remember. So, anyway, Desdemona.
He voted to kill Granny.
You both did.
But, yeah, Desdemona, you just agreed to it. William has managed to spare the blood on his hands and pass the buck to you. Everyone else, take out your camera
You're
view.
welcome.
So, it is now going to be a 30-second interaction of an execution. I will ask Granny Nightshade, do not reveal during this time if you are or are not the werewolf. We will come to you after your death to find out from beyond the grave. May the 30-second execution begin.
You know, you could have made this a lot easier.
Oh, that's so silly, dear. You might have gotten away with the other ones, but I know. And that's all that matters.
You don't know anything, and that's the problem. You're just wiping people out willy-nilly.
I just have one question. Why did you try and kill me on night 2?
Why did I try and kill you on night 2?
Yes.
You could ask me why I tried to kill you on night 3. Night 1, as far as you're concerned, I've tried to kill you every single time, and the fact of the matter is, I haven't. Okay? I'm just going
That
along
is the end of the thing. You must kill her now.
Okay.
Not the Meisner. No.
Okay, and at this stage, if Desdemona, if you take out your camera view, I will now ask you, Granny Nightshade, are you the wolf?
Oh, you can't see that. I am not the werewolf.
So, it is now going... Granny, if you take out your camera view, we are now going to night 1 final time. Would the werewolf put the name of their next victim into the comments section, please? Everyone else, just stay quiet and hope that you may see a morning. Looking at the comment section, we see that Elkie says she killed her with her technique. Diana says, Desdemona, are you fake, a charlatan? Do you actually see the future? I think it's you. Hugh says, whoops, sorry, Granny. Unfortunately, wait a minute. Hang on a second. I sense something. So... And I I can now see that it is daytime once more. Spirits, I feel that there is lots of spirits around me right now. Can everyone please come back? Everyone please return. I look at all of the faces amongst me. So many of them I see through. Some of them I see through because they are ghosts. One of them I see through because they are fake. I look at the face of Ricky Swamp. Poor Ricky. An innocent man who nobody trusted. Twice had to protect himself, but you townspeople in the end turned round and bludgeoned him. Poor Polly was just innocently minding her own business, struck down by a wolf in the dead of night, just as Sweet Abby, our first victim, was struck down. Jacob, who would murder Ricky, was then struck down in the night himself. Granny Nightshade, executed by her fellow town members. DB, also executed by his fellow town members. And then I look at the last two people who I have not mentioned. And unfortunately, William has been found dead. Leaving only one person. Could please, Desdemona, reveal now, are you the wolf?
Of course I am.
So, there we have it. Desdemona was the wolf, and she went the distance. She made it all of the way through. So, well done there, Hannah. You have successfully defeated the town. How do you feel about that?
Wonderful. It was on my bucket list.
Amazing.
I was
Coming.
so close to choosing you. I was so close.
I know. Coming to the poor dead William from beyond the grave. How do you feel? You perhaps made the fatal mistake of choosing the wrong person at the end there.
I did indeed. Unfortunately, the spirits crossed wires in front of my mind, and it all got a bit confusing. But hey, surprisingly enough, death does not really bother me that much. I'm quite happy.
Okay, so audience, there we have it. Please put some final thoughts into the comments section. This is the second time we've done Revenge of the Werewolf. We will do another show again next week. Don't know if it's going to be one that goes on forever and ever and ever, but for the meantime, people like it. Let us know if you're enjoying the show, and we will see about doing it again more in the future as well. But we'll definitely do it again next week. That's already on the books. But we'll have a look at the comments in the section. One of the things that came out of last week's debut episode, which if you didn't see, check it out. I won't reveal who was or wasn't the wolf if you didn't see it. One of the things that we came to is that at this point we ended the show, but we felt that we should have just a 5 minutes or so at the end where we actually feel what we find out what the others feel about who they thought was the wolf, mistakes that they made, and so on and so forth. So, guys, tell us some thoughts.
I'll be honest. Before I died, I was torn between Granny and Desdemona. So it's just, yeah. Interesting.
So, having a look at just to reveal a couple of statistics, Ricky, you had 9 votes against you, and that was just during the time which you were alive. After that point, you couldn't accumulate more votes. Desdemona, throughout the entire show, you only had 2 votes against you. Only 2. And that includes 1 in the final round. Only 2. You were able to successfully trick everyone into believing that you were innocent. William, you had quite a lot of votes against you. At one stage, you had 5 votes against you, but you managed to survive that round. So, let's hear some thoughts. I can actually reveal one other thought here. I made a terrible mistake earlier on in the show. I made 2 terrible mistakes. Firstly, one was a technical mistake. As I had the Zoom call on the streaming software, it was actually showing the edge of the chat box from Zoom. Anyone in the audience could have seen, any of you guys who could have been monitoring the show could have seen me communicate to Desdemona. So you could have caught that early, The second mistake I made, and one I will try not to make in the future, Granny Nightshade, you asked me a question and I gave you an honest answer. And I said that William had protected himself. You also revealed that you had protected yourself, which could have been a lie. However, within me revealing that William had protected himself, I will put it to you. The wolf does not need to protect themselves at night.
Yep.
So anyone who protected themselves at night could not have been the wolf. And I realised that I had revealed that, but no one seemed to pick up on it.
I picked up on it.
Nobody said. Nobody said you could have revealed it.
That's why I asked
something else since we did
protection, knowing that she wouldn't need it because she might have been the werewolf. Therefore, robbing someone else the chance to protect themselves.
Okay. So we did have a pre-show pre-brief, and I did actually say the wolf would not need to protect themselves at night. So technically, and this goes for future reference. The wolf cannot use the potion to protect themselves in the night phase. They have no need for it. Any other thoughts or comments? Anyone else?
I'd like to know what Jacob was going to say to Abby about Desdemona.
To Abby. I said, you're not going to tell this to Desdemona, are you? But apparently she did, and that's why she did.
Okay. Any other thoughts, guys?
I did catch your mistake, David, and that's why I was pointing my finger at Desdemona.
Wow. Okay. So.
I couldn't.
Yeah. Obviously, the dead cannot vote. We did have actually twice where the dead did get to vote, but the dead cannot normally get to vote. Did any of the dead? When did you feel you'd worked it out? Did anyone think was anyone wrong right up until the end amongst the dead?
I specifically didn't think it was Desdemona. It was the only person I didn't think it was.
Oh wow, Desdemona, the big bad wolf. You've actually put the big bad wolf, which actually still works. Are you frozen, Hannah? Oh no, you're back. Right.
Yeah, I was just sitting still.
Okay. Do you have any tips for any future wolves on future shows?
Just be strategic about who you kill off. Play the game. Watch who doesn't like who. Watch who would kill someone off. Play it backwards. And always play your innocence, but then at the same time, don't worry about not being innocent. Really just put yourself in the middle.
Okay, so any potential murderers out there in the audience? There you go. Let's look quickly to the comments section. And Jane says, awesome, thanks for a brilliant show. Diana says, love this show. Biddy Wink Wink says, yay, I guessed the wolf, way to go me. Did you? Did you really? How can we know? Can't wait till the next one. Love you funny people. Sandra George says, never trust the innocent looking ones. Janie on Twitch says, fantastic evening. Thanks so much. I love this show. Nikki Richard says, great show. Thanks everyone. Really enjoyed it. Hugh says, great show guys. Elkie says, Desdemona is no psychic. And that was correct. Max says this was brilliant. Sergith says hashtag Hannah Army. Hugh also says well played Hannah. And Elkie says I knew it. So there we go guys. At this point let's begin to wrap things up. Where can we find each of our performers on social media? Starting with Jacob Argent RIP. Where can the people find you?
In the cemetery next to Ricky's grave, unfortunately. But you can find me, Danny, as part of the Possible Improv Experience, and occasionally guesting with the Extreme Improv blog as well on the Extreme platform.
Okay, so next up, where can we find Polly Pickett?
Let's see. We on the Pack Theater's Twitch channel on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. First Wednesday of every month now is Babysitters Club Improv. Also, the Queen City Comedy Global Improv Project. Our team will be going live soon.
Okay, excellent. Next up, DB. Where can the people find you?
You can go on Twitter at DBFrick, Google DBFrick. I also have a show called Welcome Back to America, and doing interviews all over the place with different people. So you can look up my name, and you'll find me. I'm the only DBFrick, so.
Okay. In fact, DB, you sent me a message at the start of the week about being on that. I'll get back in touch.
Yeah.
I've literally just remembered because you mentioned that.
Of course.
Okay, next up, let's come to Andy. Where can the people find you?
Andy Abramson on Facebook. Andrew Abramson, Improv at the best classes and shows in the world. It's online, and I actually do have a show after this. It's Eastern time, but 7:30 p.m. Eastern time to 11:45 p.m. So if you guys want to do a jam, there's a jam right afterwards in between that, so at 10:30. But you're welcome.
Okay, next up, where can we find you, MJ?
On Facebook, MJ Kank, and my play that I'm directing, that I co-directed middle schoolers, will be on Hideout Theater's Twitch channel.
Okay, thank you so much, MJ. Next up, Mr. William Sweeney. Where can the people find you?
Well, you can't find William Sweeney anywhere because he's a made-up character, but you can find a guy called Dave Anthony Green on Twitter at @Greeno or _Anthony_Green. Dave Anthony Green on Facebook and Instagram, of course, and other things coming up during the Southend 24-hour Improvathon with various people from the Southend-based Laughter Academy and beyond. So please try and follow. Please follow the Southend 24-thon on Twitter and 24-hour Southend Improvathon on Facebook for details on that. It's not a streaming event, unfortunately. There are limited seats available for each episode, as it were, on sale right now.
Awesome, excellent. Fiona, where can everyone find you?
When I'm not playing a creepy grandmother, my name's Fiona. I run the What Am I Rolling podcast. It's a twice-monthly RPG podcast where we try out different game systems and whatnot. So we've got our own website as www.wairpodcast.com. I'm also doing another podcast which is called the DM's Book Club, or the Dungeon Masters Book Club, where we look at some Dungeons & Dragons and see how we can put it into our role-playing campaigns. Not necessarily improv, but actually really fun, and I'm sure quite a lot of improvisers do play role-playing games, so please come along and watch them. So.
Fiona, I can let you know that this actually came out of the fact that we've done a couple of games nights in the past. The last one we did before Werewolf was actually Dungeons and Dragons, so we'll do some more stuff like this.
Yes, please.
Okay, for me, my name is David Pustansky. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at David Pustansky, spelled Pustansky. I will do the wrap up for Extreme Improv in a moment, but let's come over to our surviving wolf. Hannah, where can the people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Hannah_McGowan_X. You can also find me at Bossbirds Improv in Liverpool, as well as Extreme. I will be doing different shows and all that sort of stuff. And if you can't find me there, then I'll be the big bad wolf haunting your dreams.
Ooh. Okay, so lastly, for Extreme Improv, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of the social media platforms. For any of these shows, just go over to youtube.com/Extreme Improv, hit that subscribe button. It only takes about 10 seconds and it really helps grow the channel a lot, so we can keep doing more of these fun shows. This is right at the end. I haven't even mentioned it once tonight. I've been so caught up in the world of Werewolf, but we are right at the end of the Extreme Improv XStreamed World Championship Festival 2020. We still have more shows over the next couple of days, so do check them out. You can also go over to twitch.tv/Extreme Improv. Hit the follow button there. If you want to, hit the subscribe button. And lastly, give us a like on Facebook. Just look up Extreme Improv. So, with that, thank you from me and from everyone else. Until next time, watch out, because there may be a wolf about. Rah. And we are now off.
I never worked these things out. And when I made the mistake, I was like, damn, and I was like, oh my god, I've got something! This never happens to me. I was trying so